It's November 27th, 2024. I am at Joel Pearl, and it's time to get in the weeds. A wonderful Wednesday for everyone. I'm a little frozen outside, so clearly we're going to have a good day. Jeremy Lambert is here. He's live. He's in person. I keep him up all hours of the night because I love the business of giving Jeremy more business. How are you doing, Jeremy?
I hate you, Joel.
Wouldn't be the first time you've said that. You care to enlighten the people as to why?
So, I mean, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about Ricky Starks here in a second. A lot happened yesterday with Ricky. And then, last night at what time did you end up messaging me? It was after NXT.
Yeah, it was around 10:30. So let's set the stage. Okay. We're going to talk about all the stuff with Ricky in a few minutes because it is the thumbnail, and obviously it's what a lot of people want to talk about. But last night when the news broke, I texted Jeremy and I said, maybe we should talk to Effie. And then we were talking, it was half joking. And then we were like, maybe we should. And we put out some feelers. And then it ended up being announced at around 10 o'clock that Brett Lauderdale would be on the Game Changer Weekly podcast that airs over on Body Slam, or good pals over there. So I'll let you take it from here, Jeremy.
All the stuff happened. Sean was messaging. He's like, does anybody know what Effie was talking about when it comes to Shad Khan? I told him, I was like, here's the clip that I've seen. And he's like, oh yeah, that seems to be it. And then I was ready to go to bed. I was finished up. SI Media dropped a Roman Reigns interview at like 7 o'clock last night. So like that was my night. And I was covering NXT. So I'm like trying to do Roman. I did 3 Roman articles. I covered NXT. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. I finished up what I need to finish up. I'm over this. And then, you messaged me a little after 10. It's like, well, Lauderdale's going to be on the Game Changer Weekly podcast with our pals at Body Slam. I was like, fantastic. And of course, like this is like a 3-hour podcast. All respect to those guys doing that long of a podcast, but their podcast doesn't start till 11 o'clock. This goes for podcasts. This goes for wrestling. This goes for anything, Joel. I don't care how long it is. 3-hour podcast is long. 4-hour podcast is long. 2-hour podcast is too long. Honestly, all podcasts should be like 10 minutes. I don't care how long the podcast actually is. Started at a decent time. Started at 11 o'clock East Coast. Like, oh my gosh. Brett didn't come on the show until like 12. So I was up till about 1 listening to just Brett Lauderdale, working on Brett Lauderdale interview stuff. It was a fine interview. I got a nice message from the Body Slam guys afterwards, appreciating the coverage and everything. So that always makes me feel good. I did reach out to Effie. Effie, in full transparency, was like, I don't know, let me see if I can take a day or something. Let me see what Brett thinks. And I was like, well, we'll have Brett on as well. I'm going to legitimately send this link to Ricky Starks. Ricky and I think people know we're on good terms. Ricky is somebody who I've always been a fan of. So here's full history. I'm going to be Tony Khan here and recap the entire history of everything. I was doing a lot of interviews way back when I first started with Fightful. Like I was go-getter, and I got beat down. I don't feel like doing anything anymore.
I know that feeling.
But NWA was always like cool with us. And they were like, yeah, who do you want from NWA? And I was like, I want Ricky Starks. Because I saw something in Ricky during his time in NWA. I was like, this dude, he's got it. Like, there's something good about this guy. There's something special about this guy. So I was like, I want to talk to Ricky Starks. And they're like, okay, no problem. So I had a very long interview with Ricky, like when I first started with Fightful, and we've just kind of kept in touch ever since. And, he's been good to me. He's been friendly with me. I've been trying to be friendly with him. But yeah, so I have a fairly decent relationship with Ricky. So I'm going to send him this link, and I'm just going to be like, you know what? If you want to come on, I'm sure you got to get it cleared. I don't know if you got to get anything cleared, but if you want to talk, here you go.
Everyone else has talked. I mean, listen, we can. Okay, well, before we dive into this, let's just take care of the housework. Let's get the fireworks ready and leave a thumbs up on the video, shall you? Yes, you shall. Please and thank you. And get the fireworks. Where are the fireworks? That's a thumbs up and the fireworks. So it's a big day here on the show. Subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked. If you haven't already, you can head over to FightfulOverbooked.com and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to donate a super chat, any amount, get your question question or statement read on the air. I glitched for a minute. And then, of course, we have the conversation and you support us on the channel. You support all of our wonderful creators who give their heart, their soul, and their blood and their sweat and their tears to this. I mean, mostly we just sit in front of a camera and talk, but you know, we have an unlimited pyro budget. The overbooked pyro budget is in fact unlimited.
That is actually very true. We do have an unlimited pyro budget.
Good for us. We should. It's the one thing that we can do. You want to know why my brain slipped for a second? I want to tell you all a story. My child has been a little bit of a nightmare. He's 2.5. We're at that moment. He's starting to be more attuned to his body, and as a result, we've been talking about potty training, and he started kind of positively experimenting with potty training at his daycare, which is great. We're so happy. But at home, he's like not really interested. I was not at home this morning when this happened, but I got a message from my wife. I asked her how the morning went because she did the drop off for daycare, and she sent me. I'm gonna read the message verbatim actually, because I feel like if I try to do this otherwise, it won't make sense. ... Quote. At one point, he took off his own diaper, stood in the middle of the living room, and made direct eye contact while he peed all over the floor. And he was laughing. So my child is either a sociopath or he's 2.5. So that's why my brain decided to glitch, because all I've thought about this morning is my child punishing my wife for doing absolutely nothing wrong. That's where we're at. It was very funny. That's enough time to kill while you were messaging Ricky, right?
You could have talked about anything else, but sure.
I know, because then I got you invested into the story. Oh, dude, there have been times where sometimes it just happens. It's a reality of it. Parents in the chat, you guys know. You all understand. So should we dive? I had to exhale for a minute because it was just very funny. My child was trying to get pulled from upcoming appearances. No, because he very happily goes to school about that. Oh God. So what should we jump into the Ricky Stark stuff then?
I mean, yeah, there's plenty to talk about when it comes to this. You want to just set it all up with everything?
Yeah, so obviously people are aware that Ricky made an appearance at GCW Dream On this past weekend in East Rutherford, New Jersey. They were doing a show at the mall there, the American Dream Mall, and Ricky basically made reference to being frozen out and this being the time of the prime of his career, and he's not going to be sitting around doing nothing at home. And then they made announcements of a match for Ricky versus Matt Cardona at GCW in LA that was coming up in a few weeks. I think it was December 18th, somewhere along that line. And there were other appearances. He was announced for Hammerstein to appear. And apparently there were other appearances that were on the docket that had not been announced yet. Well, last night, our own Sean Ross Sapp broke the story on FightfulSelect.com, the best $5 in the business, that AEW pulled Ricky Starks. The prevailing factor for this appears to be comments related to Effie's podcast, where Effie made a reference to not only it started off as commentary on AEW booking Hammerstein before GCW's event that's happening in Hammerstein, and then he also kind of made reference to Tony Khan and kind of inferred Shad Khan as paying his son to stay away. Things like he made references to the Khan family that were very passionate and very of Effie's nature. He does not hold back, and as a result, the prevailing factor for Ricky's removal from the GCW shows is that those comments led to the pull. Ricky is still allowed and invited to take other dates with other companies. He's doing House of Glory. I know that in Chicago, not too far away from now. And he's also he's open for business. Ricky is open. He just worked Glory Pro not too long ago as well. So
on Sunday,
there you go. He just worked Glory Pro on Sunday. He's open. He's ready to work. The GCW stuff came with a few dates. Brett Lauderdale went on Twitter and said that there was the two aforementioned bookings that I made reference to, and then there was one that was unannounced for Seattle, and I think there was one more on the table as well.
Hammerstein was unannounced at the time.
Hammerstein was unannounced at the time?
Yeah.
And there was Seattle. That was also unannounced.
That was unannounced, yeah.
And then there was also already announced was LA. I thought there was a fourth. Maybe I just misread.
I don't think so. No,
okay.
There was 3.
So there was the 3 announcements. And that's where we stand. Brett was on the Game Changer Weekly podcast. We made reference to that. We can dig into that. And of course, the Effie comments and everything coming from that. We have not heard from Ricky Starks. That's the one thing that we know. There's a lot of support coming his way for being pulled and basically being treated as a bit of a pawn in this game, which if that's the case, that is, I don't think that's very fair to Ricky, especially given the totality of his AEW run so far and everything we've talked about in and out. This is where we stand. Ricky's been pulled from GCW. He can work anywhere else, just not there. And it seems to stem from the comments made by Effie on this podcast.
It does seem to stem from the comments made by Effie. There also is a bigger factor of AEW GCW here that not many people are talking about because right now the focus is on Ricky. Now, Janela was getting off some comments last night, but if you've seen the GCW lineups, they're not as AEW heavy as they've been in the past. Certainly when AEW first started, when a lot of the AEW talents would still work indies, and certainly GCW. Right now, most of the GCW cards don't have a ton of AEW talent. Janela said like he had to pull in a bunch of favors just to get Nick Wayne on the card. Bloodsport's a whole different thing, by the way. For anyone who wants to reference Bloodsport, oh, John Moxley showed up at Bloodsport. Marina Shafir showed up at Bloodsport. Josh Barnett is just friends with everybody, and that's how he gets WWE talent, and that's how he gets AEW talent, and people are just going to work those shows. That's a whole separate thing that the branding is, it's obviously a GCW show, but it's branded as such Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, and there's not as much GCW influence that Bloodsport, I think, might be okay. And Shafir, of course, is very close with Barnett to where Shafir's probably like, yeah, I'm just going to work these shows. It's fine. John Moxley kind of does whatever John Moxley wants. That's just
he's been afforded that right.
Yeah, that's what he's always done when it comes to these GCW appearances. But Lauderdale said last night on the Game Changer Weekly podcast, everyone go to Body Slam, check that out. He said, like, I've never really had any communication with AEW. He said, I've never had a conversation with Tony Khan. I've never talked to him on the phone. I've never texted him. So that line of communication doesn't seem like it's ever been there. And Lauderdale said, like, anytime that AEW talent is wanting to work the show, it's been through the talent. The talent comes to me and says, hey, yeah, I want to work this show. It's all cleared with AEW. And Lauderdale says, okay, they set it up. And that's how it goes. So it doesn't seem like there's been a ton of conversation between AEW and GCW. I would feel like there could be more, especially if you've used so much talent. You would think there would be a little bit more, but it doesn't seem like there is. I'm only going by what Lauderdale has said. You know, we can ask Tony Khan, hey, what's your relationship like with GCW? Have you ever talked to Brett Lauderdale? You know, but right now we can only go by what Lauderdale said because Lauderdale is the only person who has commented on it. But there is a bigger GCW AEW factor at play here in that GCW doesn't use a ton of AEW talent anymore. Not like they used to, certainly. And it seems like they've had, I don't want to say a rocky relationship, but they haven't been on the same page that you would think they would be based on when AEW started and was very supportive of the indies, and a lot of their guys still work indie dates. The Ricky stuff is upsetting because, yeah, Ricky seems like he is in a bad spot right here. And it doesn't seem like though it's his fault. I know I did the interview yesterday with Chris Van Fleet. I listened to the whole interview and then I've re-listened to the clips and I've transcribed a bunch. So I have a pretty decent knowledge of the interview. He didn't say anything outlandish. Like, of all the Thanksgiving interviews that have dropped over the years in wrestling, this was on the tamer side to me. Like, he didn't say anything that was super outlandish to me.
That's
like,
Icky Dice anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Just,
But it didn't seem like he said anything that was really that bad. He certainly didn't reference anybody by name or anything. He talked about what he needed to talk about. He addressed some things. There was some stuff left on the table that I thought could have been addressed, but otherwise it was a good interview where it's like, yeah, okay. But the part where I feel bad for Ricky is that he clearly had these dates locked in. He clearly was he already worked Dream On. He was already announced for the December show. They already had a graphic for Hammerstein. So clearly he was going to be there for Hammerstein. They had graphics for Seattle, or at least they were going to announce him for Seattle. So these were already approved in some way to where he should have been on these shows. And now he's not on these shows. And now he's missing out on those potential paydays and look, GCW is the biggest independent company out there. They just are. He can go work other independents and everything, but the visibility isn't as great. He worked the Glory Pro show. And look, I like I like Glory Pro. Dan the Dad's been on Spotlight. We message every now and again. So I think they do a good job there in St. Louis. They're on High Spots Network. Not a lot of people are subscribed to High Spots Network. That's like the third tier of streaming services when it comes to independent wrestling. GCW is the top tier when it comes to independent. So the visibility is much higher when it comes to that stuff. And now he's not going to be able to work those dates, which is fine if AEW would use him. It's okay if he's not going to work these dates, if he's going to be on AEW television, but there's no guarantee of that. And yeah, the fans lose out as well. Fans were probably excited to see Ricky say, we heard the reaction he got to Dream On. We heard the reaction he gets when he goes to these different shows. We see all the buzz online that he stirs up. Ricky Starks is very good. People want to see him wrestle. People want to see him talk. And it's not going to happen because he's been pulled from these shows and he's not going to be used on AEW TV. If you're going to pull him from these shows, feels like you gotta use them elsewhere. I know they don't have to, but I wish they would. And then the Effie comments. Effie said what he said. Effie is not a guy who has much of a filter. And is it something that needed to be said? No. He said it. I don't know if he is going to apologize, if an apology even makes good on anything. I don't know. But it seems like that caused a bigger riff than I'm sure he thought it was going to when he said it. And then, now we're in this situation.
I want to read the first comments from Brett Lauderdale from Game Changer Weekly. Said it's a weird situation because Ricky Starks is an independent contractor. This is a whole wrestling conversation that one of these days, this is going to be tested and something is going to happen because theoretically an independent contractor is independent and they can go work and work wherever they want. In wrestling, these independent contractors don't seem to be very independent. They are at the whim of an employer, which makes it seem like they are an employee. It's above our pay grade. I'm just an independent wrestling company and I don't have people under contract. These guys reach out to me. I like working with talented people and I don't really get into their contract situation. If they make it to the point where they can appear on my show, I am to assume that everything is cleared. People don't traditionally breach contracts on this level of wrestling. The first part is really interesting to me. The independent contractor conversation.
Yeah.
The idea that you can just show up and work wherever you want because you are IC. It's true to a point, and I know this is going to be an ongoing conversation forever and ever on Men in Wrestling because there's this thing in wrestling where it's all about you trust and you respect, and the respect means not biting the proverbial hand that feeds you, and that seems to be what the situation is with the ICs in wrestling. It's you're under contract, but you're only under contract as much as you respect the law of a contract versus your employer. And wrestling is also a world where You don't make a lot of money in wrestling unless you're working for one of two companies. Ricky is under contract to one of those two companies. And I don't think he's going to cross the line, so to speak. I know that's TNA. I don't think he's going to cross the line and just show up at a GCW event unless they suddenly make something out of it and it becomes a big... listen, if they turn this into a storyline somehow, good on them. Ricky gets paid. GCW gets a little bit more out of this. Then fantastic. Love to see that. I don't see that happening, but stranger things have happened. I just thought it was very interesting that Brett would bring that up. And it would be,
I mean, Brett's going to bring that up because that's kind of his almost leg to stand on here. But that's been every leg to stand on when it comes to, are they independent contractors? Are they employees? It's been an ongoing conversation for years and years and years. And until Andrew Yang comes in here and wants to make a difference.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That and Zelina Vega becomes Intercontinental champion. Stop it.
Yeah. I don't feel like there's too much room to breathe on there. That was a terrible turn of phrase that I just used, but I just don't feel like there's too much conversation to be had because we've literally been having this same, what is the independent contractor thing? That's what we've been doing for years and nothing's changed. And I don't ever see anything change. It'd be nice if it changed. It'd be nice if, these wrestlers actually got employee contracts, but it doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. This is the way the business is and the way the business is probably always going to be. So Lauderdale's bringing that up because I don't know what else he has to say about it. He didn't give too much. He didn't say too much last night. Again, I thought the biggest takeaway was he's not talked to AEW, according to him. So I don't know who informed Lauderdale. Maybe Sean broke the news with Lauderdale. I was like, hey, I heard GCW is going to have to pull Ricky Starks. And Lauderdale's like, well, that's news to me. But it seems like he hasn't talked to AEW. Yeah, according to him, he has not talked to AEW. And I don't know who informed him of this. I don't know if it was Ricky. I don't know if it was somebody else in GCW who got the message. But that was the biggest takeaway to me. The independent contractor stuff, yeah, it's a point to be made, but nothing's going to change out of it. The same way Lauderdale was upset, and understandably so, of AEW running Hammerstein in the first place 30 days before GCW was about to run Hammerstein. Now this is something that is in contracts. This is something that is in venue contracts of, hey, we're going to run this show. You can't run this show. You can't run this venue 30 to 60 days before or after we run this venue. That's something that's in AEW contracts. That's something that's in WWE contracts. I know Thurston posted one of the contracts that had I guess it's an exclusivity clause when it comes to the venues. That's in those contracts. GCW doesn't have those type of contracts with those venues to where they were able to do that with Hammerstein. So AEW came in and was like, all right, well, GCW's got this date, fine, but we want these dates. I'm sure that I'm not even sure. You can listen to Brett Lauderdale's interviews and you can hear it. Didn't quite sit well with him. And understandably so. I get it, because it's going to make it tougher. Having Ricky Starks on that show would have probably made it easier to sell some tickets. Now Ricky's not on the show. Going to be a little bit tougher to sell those tickets. Maybe they get some WWE talent. They've got some ECW people, Tajiri and Tanaka. They've announced them. It's a messy situation, and there's two sides to the situation. And I don't know if it's going to get solved. I hope for the sake of Ricky Starks, it gets solved to where he can work more dates, get on television, whatever it is. As far as the AEW GCW side, they're gonna take I don't want to say take these shots, but they're gonna go back and forth. AEW is the bigger company here, and they have more of a foothold on things. GCW can really only do so much. People wanted Tony Khan to stand up, be a boss, and then he does stuff like this. And look, I don't fully begrudge Tony, by the way, for doing what he needs to do for his business. I don't. Now, I don't like it when a talent suffers from that. I'm always going to go talent over the company. But I don't begrudge Tony if he feels like, hey, one of your guys is attacking my dad and attacking me. No, I'm not gonna help you out. Why would I do that? I don't begrudge Tony for that. I don't like it from the talent side. And the talent in this case being Ricky. It could be anybody else. It could be anybody else who got pulled, lost these appearances, and I'd feel the same way.
I think that's a perfectly logical way to see it, by the way. Like, multiple sides can be shitty, but multiple sides can be right for what they did. Again, on the Ricky got screwed side is there, but Tony also had to make an example of GCW given the circumstances. One of their top guys said something on his own podcast, but still, he's still related to GCW, works all the shows, is going to be in the main event at Hammerstein, presumably. Like, he's a big time player, is Effie. And Effie said something about Tony Khan's family that warranted Tony to stand up, which he has every right to do, and pull one of his talent from the show. What sucks is that it happens to be one of the talent that happens to be completely off TV, completely invisible to AEW, and just not a part of things. So that's the optics that makes it really tough to do. Effie wasn't right to say the things he said, but Tony has every right to react the way he did. Ricky becomes a casualty of the situation because of his contract status, because of his connection to AEW. And of course, we had the contract status update over on FightfulSelect.com where he still got, till spring of 2025 because AEW picked up the option on Ricky. That's the belief. There was no one else that could be pulled from that card because no one else from AEW was working a GCW show. Ricky got stuck in a really shitty situation, but Tony had every right to do it the way he did. Every time that Tony stood up for himself, it sucks that something has always been, the other side has always hurt. Like the story with Penta and Phoenix, where he added the injury time. He was well within his right to do so. At the same time, Lucha Bros were kind of like on the outs as it was. So it was like it's a different story, but it was still the same idea of like when Tony stands up for himself and stands up for his business versus just letting people, quote, walk all over him. He got stuck, and that sucks. Chi-Town Spurs sent a super chat saying the thing that really sucks for Ricky is that this is not the first time he's gotten screwed because other talent couldn't be professional. He lost the most when Punk got fired. He was working on something with Punk when all that went down. And then Punk left, and that was presumably the end of whatever was on for Ricky Starks at the time. It sucks. Now let's all go to GCW and chant free Ricky Starks. No? That's not the answer. You got something? Okay. Well, now it's just me for a little bit. Jeremy's going to go take care of some business. On the other side of AEW, they did announce that the Grand Slam venue for Brisbane has changed. They're no longer going to run the Suncorp Stadium. They're going to be running the Brisbane Entertainment Center. This was actually a pretty interesting story because I happened to last night be thinking about it, and I was like, what other venues in Brisbane could they be running? And we were made aware that they were going to do some sort of venue change in the next little while. But for them to go out of that stadium, which houses, 50,000-ish, to have to leave from there, it made sense. They weren't selling as many tickets as they expected. Instead, they're going to move. And by the way, part of that is because Brisbane it's not Sydney, it's not Melbourne. It's just they paid the most in Brisbane to bring in AEW, so they got the show. They probably would have done a lot better with another part of Australia, but that's also the other part of the world. That said, Brisbane is a pretty good. The entertainment center is a pretty good place. It's got about 12,000 seats. They should be able to sell that out, and I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot going on so far. So apparently they'd announced they had about 10,000 sold. So that arena could sell out, which is great. I look forward to seeing that. AEW in Australia could be a lot of fun. There was one other venue that held about 8,000, and it was a tennis arena. And I'm like, for Grand Slam, that'd be a lot of fun because traditionally, like the Grand Slam in New York, you could do a similar setup where it's like half outside, half inside. But instead, they decided to go with the larger entertainment venue, which is what they should have done. welcome back, Jeremy. We're talking about the venue change for Grand Slam in Australia.
Oh,
just as a change of pace for a moment. I don't know if you wanted to add anything about the whole Ricky Stark stuff, or you had more to go on, and then we can shift over to the Grand Slam stuff.
I know you read Chi-Town Spurs super chat, but talk a little bit about that. He did lose the most when Punk got fired because, yeah, they were clearly working on program there, and who knows what would have come out of that. They had a chance to rebound off of that, though, because he did the match with Danielson, which was very well received. And if you listen to Ricky's interview with Van Vliet, he talks about after the match, Danielson was, fired up in a good way of yelling at him positively of like, yeah, that's good stuff. Like, you killed it every time you're given an obstacle, you go out there and you kill it. Like, that was main event level stuff. And then nothing really came out of that. Like, he did the stuff with Big Bill. Remember there was that weird segment. It wasn't a weird segment, but like they did the match. And then it looked like Danielson and Ricky were like going to shake hands. And then Big Bill pulled Ricky away. And it looked like, oh, maybe Ricky's going to join like Blackpool or something. Like, it looked like there was something there. And then nothing came out of that. Like, they didn't follow up on that at all. Like, he won the titles with Big Bill. They defended him. They had him until just before Revolution, where they lost to Sting and Darby. And then they did the one match after that as part of the tag team tournament. And that was the end. We haven't seen Ricky since. Literally, we have not seen Ricky on AEW television since then. So it's not like he obviously did get screwed over after the Punk stuff. But it's not like they didn't have an opportunity to still do something with him after that. And they did with the Danielson stuff. It's really after the Danielson stuff that there was no follow-up and no real care put into what he did. When he was not announced for the Own Heart tournament, that's when the alarm bells went off of, oh, you're not going to have the defending champion be part of this tournament? That's a little strange.
We could have had Ricky Starks in the Blackpool Combat Club, and therefore Ricky Starks could have been a Death Rider. He could have been wearing that white shirts and those Versace pants. Could have happened. But yeah, I don't know, man. It sucks. Ken Bruno's saying, the timing of the Van Vliet interview where Ricky was critical of AEW was interesting. I'm not sold that it's entirely Effie's comments. And it's possible. Again, like, it's entirely possible that Effie's comments were the catalyst, and then whatever Ricky said on Van Vliet was too far. But also, if we assume, I think it's pretty safe to assume that Van Vliet went through AEW to get Ricky on the show, then things that were said would have been at least seen by AWPR, passed by AWPR, and said, not ideal, but it is what it is. Like, he's not being critical in a way that was like completely burying the company. Am I right?
I didn't find anything that was always burying the company. He talked about there's been no communication with certain things. The company owes it to him to at least communicate some things. Now, Van Vliet left some stuff on the table. Again, of like, the big topic has Ricky turned down creative? Or does creative have nothing for him? That wasn't really addressed. I can't surmise what Ricky is thinking or anything like that. I don't know if he's turned down creative. No idea. The question wasn't asked. Can't exactly give an answer to it that I don't know. Otherwise, like, he said there's no communication really. Okay, has he not talked to Tony? Don't know. That doesn't seem like it based on the interview, but that wasn't really clarified. He didn't say anything to me that was putting AEW in a bad light. He referenced some veterans that he didn't name, but that were upset about certain things. And I thought the veterans, based on Ricky's telling of it, don't really have a leg to stand on of, oh, do you think a McDonald's worker goes to Burger King and eats there? Yeah, they do, because they get tired of eating McDonald's. So yeah, they go to Burger King on their lunch break. See it happen all the time. Literally saw yesterday at the grocery store an Acme employee at a Giant Eagle. Like, because Giant Eagle might have a better deal on something, or Acme might have a better deal on something. So why wouldn't you go there and get your groceries? This happens all the time. WWE talent goes to NXT, or WWE talent goes to AEW shows. AEW talent goes to WWE shows. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know why it's made to be a big deal. It's stupid that it's made to be a big deal.
You want to know why it's still considered to be this big deal? It's because once upon a time, a couple of WWE talents showed up at a TNA taping, and both sides made it a big deal. And since then, everyone goes back to when the Highlanders were on the TNA taping because they were with their kids, and the kids wanted to go to the wrestling show, and they were said, we won't put you on TV. They were told that, and then they were put on TV, and then WWE, quote, had no choice but to fire them for whatever reason that was. That's why people have made such a big stupid deal out of wrestlers showing up to support their friends in other wrestling companies, which is absurd. But that's one of the reasons why that's been such a big deal over the last 15, 20 years. It's stupid. It shouldn't be that way. Ricky went to support his friend when he went to the Rumble and when he went to WrestleMania. And he even said it in the interview. There were other people there, and I'm not putting them on blast. They were there. Tony didn't care. He was fine with me going to be with my friend and celebrate my friend's big match. Great. Do that. Bailey and Sasha, Mercedes, were at the TNA show in Vegas. They were Hard to Kill. They were up in the balcony just chilling, and they were just hanging out. You didn't see them, but they were there. And Tamina was there too. But the
Bailey
point is,
and we're at Mercedes AEW debut.
That's right, they were. And the point is, these are friends going to support their friends. They should all be wanting to do that because that's what they do. Yeah, Naomi and Bailey were at the AEW show. Who cares? Go and support your friends. This shouldn't be a thing. But it becomes a thing because everyone thinks that just because you're going to see your friend, it means you're automatically going to go jump ship and join them there. And at that point, sure, okay, they have that ability if they're finished their contract and they decide to make that decision. Good for them. It's such a weird thing to get weird about.
And Derek, Ricky was not on camera when it came to this. If fans took videos of him, that's fans taking video. With the Rumble thing, that was somebody leaking a security footage of Ricky being backstage.
And Ricky said he knew that person, as far as I remember. Didn't he say that he knew the person who leaked it?
I don't know if he fully knew that. I have to go back and look at the quote. I don't think it was that.
Yeah. Okay, I thought there was some connection to the person who leaked it, and it was just anyway, regardless, it's still happening. It's not on camera.
I think they all know that, yeah, I'm here, but let's not show me on camera. Because then you get into the Britt Baker incident when Adam Cole took the drop off the cage there. And they haven't let that happen again, I don't think. So at least there's that. But yeah, who cares if these friends are attending these other friends' shows? It does not matter. Certainly should not punish anybody for this.
It's silly. But here we are. We're stuck. It's there were pictures, but they were kind of hidden. Again, taking pictures versus being on the camera is so different. The shrieking sound was somebody's microphone picking up a loud sound. My apologies.
Oh, that's probably sorry.
That's fine. Regardless, it is what it is. It's fine. And did they apologize to Britt? Ken's asking in the chat.
They did. Triple H mentioned it after it happened because this is when NXT used to do the post-show media calls, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I talked to Britt, apologized, that was an accident," type of thing. So yeah,
there you go. Whether it was real or not doesn't matter. Just they say they cross their I's and dot their T's. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add about the Stark stuff. It sucks. I look forward to Ricky eventually talking about this, but I don't know if he's going to anytime soon, and to whom. But for now, he's not working GCW, at least not at this moment. Things could change, but as of right now, that's where we're standing. He can work anywhere else but WWE or TNA or MLW.
And with the contract thing, that's another kind of talking point here is apparently extended his contract, and we've discussed this. So let me make sure I get the complete wording here. Fightful Select learned via numerous AEW sources that AEW had an option in the spring of 2024 in which they picked up. This extends Ricky's stay into the spring or summer of 2025. Those that we spoke to said that prior to the option being picked up, he was hoping to test the open market. We've discussed contract options before and the rights and the wrongs of them. I'm of the belief that if somebody wants to, especially in wrestling, where you're kind of at the mercy of the booking, it's not like basketball where you can earn a playing spot. Like if you outperform somebody, they're going to have to play you. You would hope. Now, sometimes it doesn't always happen. But wrestling, if you don't want to, if the person doesn't want to book you, they're not going to book you. It doesn't matter how good you are. So if somebody doesn't want their option to be picked up, it feels like just as a goodwill gesture, maybe don't pick it up. At the same time, if you agree to an option and you agree to put that in there, you kind of understand that, hey, there's a chance that it gets picked up, even if I don't want it to be picked up. And, Ricky, he signed the contract that had the option on there. So AEW has their right to execute the option and keep him there for another year. I'm still of the belief that if you're not going to use him, why bother picking up the option? It's a disservice to your talent. You're basically wasting money because you're paying this guy to sit at home, which makes no sense to me. And then the perception is you're doing the wrong thing. And that's not good either. You don't want that to be the perception of your company.
It's very strange. When I read that, I was like, why? Why would you do that? And maybe, who knows? Maybe there's something that we don't know. Maybe there's something that Ricky knows that they don't want being known. I don't know. This is me completely spitballing. It's a weird take to do. To extend a contract like that, to pick up that extension. Others have mentioned, TNA did it to Josh Alexander and to Deonna Purrazzo. Yeah, they kept using them. They kept
at least they got continue to be used. So there's a little bit of a defense there. They saw
the benefit and the value of utilizing that talent with the option year they were able to pick up. With Ricky, it's just baffling. You're freezing him out. And again, we don't know in terms of the creative what's been pitched, what's been approved, what communication's been there. Ricky asserts that there's been minimal to no communication. He also has said multiple times that he hasn't shot down anything. The truth is somewhere in the middle. Nobody really knows what's out there. It's just very strange, what the reality is. It's weird.
Yeah, we'll see. I wish Tony would give a better answer than we love Ricky. Can't wait to have him back in AEW. He's been a great star. It's like, well, then can we get something? If you'd love to have him back, then somebody, the math ain't math in here. Either you're not using him or he's turning down stuff. But we'd love to have him back. Doesn't make any sense when you're the guy who books the show. So something's not adding up there. I wish he would give his side. I understand he doesn't have to. It's his right to give the answer that he wants to give. But I wish we just get more clarity on the situation. Maybe we never will. Maybe we only will when Ricky actually leaves, or
even then.
Maybe. Well, I would suspect Ricky will open up a little bit more if and when he leaves. He might be able to talk a little bit more freely. And I think Tony might talk a little bit more freely once Ricky's actually gone. So maybe. No idea.
Listen, everyone tweets something at 2 a.m. Sorry. Zeno, I was saying TK was scared that Ricky was leaving for WWE earlier this year. But again, he sat him at home. Why would he be scared of Ricky leaving? It's not like Ricky hasn't been made to be a big time player in AEW. I read GCW in the chat. He hasn't been made to look like a big time player in AEW. What does it matter if he's going to go to WWE at that point? That's where the math doesn't math for me. it's like if he's scared that he's going to go somewhere else and be successful, then that's an indictment on your ability to work with the talent and get them to the place where they could be when they're being viewed by other companies as able to be huge. That's what's weird to me.
People talking about Ricky turning down creative and everything, and he said he has not turned anything down. That's his side. Tony hasn't said anything differently. You know, again, he's given the answer of we love Ricky, we want Ricky back. What's the creative as well? I don't think it's necessarily a terrible thing if wrestlers turn down certain creative plans. I don't. Sometimes creative is bad. Sometimes wrestlers should be like, yeah, you know what? I don't feel like that really benefits anybody there. I'm saying turn down everything, but at least work with it, work within things and be like, hey, how instead of that, how about we do this? And then if Ricky suggested something else and AEW turned that down, then who's right and wrong in there? Like, I'm just throwing stuff out there. None of this confirmed. This is all speculatory on me. This is a hypothetical, basically.
I will add this chat. Sorry, go ahead. Make a point.
If they came to Ricky and they said, hey, we just want you to lose to Jack Perry. That's it. Just come in, Jack Perry's going to do an open challenge. You lose to Jack Perry. And Ricky says, no, how about Jack Perry does the open challenge, but I don't answer it as a one-on-one, like then and there. I come out, I do a promo, and we set up a match for the pay-per-view, and I'll lose at the pay-per-view. Is Ricky wrong for that? Is AEW wrong for that? Is that Ricky turning down creative? And if AEW says, no, we just like the idea of you coming in, answering the open challenge, and losing. Who's right, who's wrong there? That's all I'm trying to get at in this hypothetical scenario. So just saying, oh, he turned down creative, he doesn't want to be used. We don't know what the creative was, and we don't know if there was any back and forth off of the creative. So I don't want to dismiss as like, oh, Ricky just turned down creative, because we just don't know those conversations.
To me, the idea of not giving into creative or saying no to creative is shooting it down and just saying flat out, no, that doesn't work for me, brother. That's my interpretation of it. Again, the truth is somewhere in the middle. And again, what you're laying out as a scenario is a collaborative effort. And that's the way it should be in most wrestling companies. When you're of a certain caliber on the roster and you know your character well, and the people writing for your character know you well, you should be able to say what your character should or shouldn't do for motivational purposes. Ricky Stark coming in and just answering an open challenge, like he said, or in this hypothetical, would not make sense for a random episode of Dynamite. He would want to do it on a big stage and build it up and be a thing, because Ricky, like the character Ricky Starks, wants the spotlight, likes the spotlight, wants to show and prove he's the best. Therefore, he should be going after. And Jack Perry can be a chicken shit and be like, no, I'm not going to, it's now or never. And then you tell a story from there. Again, this is all speaking in hypotheticals. So it is an ongoing conversation, and I'm sure that people will be asking someone in the chat saying, it's on media to ask TK about it. Otherwise, you can't complain about not getting answers. Well, the thing is, two things can be true at once, because people can ask, and they do, about Ricky Starks. We've asked about his contract status, and Tony's been like, he's still under contract. We love him. We can't wait to have him back. And then the pushback from media was like, well, you booked the show. Why isn't he back? Nobody's ever... Like, you can't give an answer like that and expect not to hear that answer or that pushback. We can easily be asking questions, but it's whether or not Tony wants to actually answer those questions in a way.
Tony was asked about. Sorry.
If he deflects the answer, then we're just back to square one, and typically he will just deflect in those cases, or give you the history of Ricky Starks and AEW in this case.
Tony has been asked about Ricky's contract, point blank about Ricky's contract. This last media conference, Full Gear, he was asked about Ricky because Ricky just made the GCW appearance. So he was asked about Ricky's status. He gave we love Ricky. Ricky's great. Looking forward to having him back. He has, you can frame it however you want to frame it. Why isn't Ricky on TV? He's asked about the status of Ricky. He's been asked about the contract of Ricky. He's going to give the answer he's going to give. It doesn't matter how you frame it. He's going to give the answer he's going to give.
And that'll be that. But people will ask. We will try to phrase the questions or frame them in ways that he answers to our liking or to the liking of those who are wanting an answer. But you can't assume that Tony's going to give the answer that you want. Not everyone's going to answer, a question going point A, point B. And you can't keep asking because you can keep asking, but it's not a waterboarding. It's not a,
keep asking
doesn't change the answer to a question. That's the thing. When people were going after the Chris Jericho stuff, when Hausman was starting that whole thing, like people saying, keep asking. They asked 4 times. And how many times can you get the same answer to a question? Like, I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't
keep asking doesn't make any sense when he has been continued to be asked. He's been asked at least 4 times over the past few months about Ricky. How much more keep asking can you do?
It's never going to change the answer. Sean should book Ricky Starks on Fightful shows. Hey, listen, if the money's there, let's go. Yeah. Hey, TNA talk, because Jeremy's not here real quick. TNA announced that in 2025, they're going to pick a major show in New York or LA, but they want the fans to vote for it. So on the TNA website at 2:22 p.m. Eastern, should give you a hint, Wednesday, December 4th, they're going to open up a poll to show if you should go to New York City or to LA for a major TNA show. Where are you going to go? You want to go to LA or you want to go to New York? Where do you think TNA is going to show up? They're based out of Nashville. Feel like they should go to New York. Don't know where they would run. Maybe the Melrose Ballroom, but I think they've kind of gone out of that space. They can run Hammerstein like everybody else. If you do New York, that's fine. You could do LA. Plenty of spaces there, but there you go. Now I got to stop talking about TNA because he's back.
Oh,
Hi, Jeremy.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. We're talking about TNA doing the pick your venue in 2025.
Oh, yeah,
between New York and LA, and it's like you're doing the thing. You're doing 2:22 Eastern, which is pretty indicative that you're going to just go to New York. But where are they going to run? Are they going to run? I was saying like
Hammerstein.
That's the thing, because they won't run Melrose again. It's too small for them. They'll run Hammerstein. Hammerstein's going to be like the wrestling mecca for the next 2 years. I don't know where else TNA could go in New York City that would like fit. Carnegie Hall. Let's go.
Val Capone's in the chat. Val, hope you're doing well after your surgery. Hope you're on the mend. Hope you're healing well. Hope you have a good Thanksgiving. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, I don't know who celebrates what.
Friendsgiving, Thanksgiving, time to be with friends and family. Just do you. Hopefully,
yeah.
Car dealership parking lot. Come on, man. It'll be February. Come on.
All right. Apologies that I keep having to pop in and out, everybody. It's a busy day here at the Lambert household.
It's fine. It gives me an excuse to talk about things you don't want to talk about.
Yeah, fair.
Well, all right, where should we go? Oh, there you go. They can run the Palladium in Times Square.
Okay.
We'll see. I have a feeling that they're going to run New York. LA for TNA is an interesting concept, but I just have a feeling New York's going to win out. It'll be fun. All right. Where should we go now? Do you want to talk about the booking, the Brisbane Grand Slam booking?
Sure. They moved to a smaller venue. It didn't sell as well as they were hoping it was going to sell. I mean, they had to move to a smaller venue. That's probably the right call instead of trying to put 10, 20,000 people in a stadium to where it's a quarter full. That's not the best look in the world. So move into a smaller venue that's most likely going to sell out is a good call. Now we can talk about, should they have started there and not tried to overshoot their target immediately? At least they course corrected.
I think part of it was also because Brisbane had given so much money to bring in AEW that the hope was through the sponsorship and through the bidding that they were going to be able to fill that space. But Brisbane, I was saying earlier when you had stepped out, Brisbane is not a major city. If it's Sydney, if it's Melbourne, it's a different beast. You can fill up those stadiums. There are more people who are going to be willing to come to those cities because there's a lot more, just a lot more behind going there. So yeah, it's a hard sell, is Val saying in the chat, and it's right. So for them to move to the entertainment center, it's good. Again, the venue fits the tickets sold so far, and on top of that, like, they'll sell out that event, which is great. That event center is going to sell out. It's, up to 13,000, maybe more, with seating on the floor. They're going to be there. They're in good company. It's not a small venue. Bryan Adams is playing there just before they come in. Billie Eilish takes over after they leave. Billie Eilish is doing like 4 shows in that venue. Like, she's there for like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then like a Saturday, Sunday the following week. So Billie Eilish has been talked about on the show a bunch of times this week. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because she's doing the Vancouver show after Survivor Series. Now she's following wrestling is what she's doing. She's going to go to the shows, her and Vanessa Hudgens. So yeah, good for AEW to go to this venue. I mentioned while you were gone, there was another venue that was a tennis venue that held like 8,000. It's called the Peter something, I forget. It was named after somebody, because these were all Olympic venues, I think.
Peter Griffin.
Probably. So instead, they're not going to run that venue, but I would have liked it for just the aesthetic of Grand Slam tennis, just like they ran Arthur Ashe, to run it on a tennis court that has like an open air feel. That would be really fun. But obviously, if you're going to be able to fill, 13 to 15,000, you do that instead of fewer people in a different venue. You have tickets sold, so it's good. First show in Australia, they're going to have, over 13,000, maybe up to 15 in the venue. Good. Do it. Love it. Happy for AEW.
Yeah. Hopefully the show is good, and hopefully the show goes well. And look, they're still putting 13,000 there. That's still a very good number. Let's not act like, oh, they had to downgrade the venue. This is terrible. They're fine. They're fine.
Yep. Now here's a really fun one. This was before we went on the air. I was in our Fightful Select Discord, and someone pointed out Collision's booked for Athens, Georgia on January 11th. And they're playing, it's supposed to be at the Classic Center, which is 2 venues. It's a theater and an arena. Currently listed on the website, and I did a little digging that it's legitimate. The Athens Rock Lobsters, that's the hockey team. They have a match that night. They have a game that night at home against the Baton Rouge Zydeco at the Aiken Sport Arena. That's the big venue. The theater is the smaller venue, and they're being promoted for both. AEW is being promoted at the Aiken Sport Arena, and the Rock Lobsters are being promoted for the Aiken Sport Arena. It's very strange. I think Collision's going to move to the theater, which is cool if they do, because it's a nice theater. But I just saw that in our Discord, and I wanted to bring that up because it's very strange when it looks like there's a double booking and the venue can hold multiple events, and it looks like they've got them on both the same event space. It's strange.
They should run them at the same time. Like,
that'd be great. Hey, listen, our pals Love Wrestling are in the chat.
Yeah,
Love Pro Wrestling. They know, they've done it before.
You just put Collision in the middle of the hockey game. It'd be fantastic.
Run it from the stands. There'll be a lot of people there to go watch the Rock Lobsters. You have someone. Ricky Starks will come out as the mascot. He'll come out as the Rock Lobster. He'll sing the song, do the dance, have a match. That'd be great. It'd be perfect for them.
I think that's what they should do. Just on the ice too, not in the stand. No. Let the hockey players play around.
It's Rick Lobster. That's good. They should, just have the rink like comes down from the rafters, and like there's smoke blowing and they're playing jock jams and shit. Perfect.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the hockey game.
Yeah. That'd be great.
I'd love to see
or
it.
like it's an elevated ring, like it like hangs above style. So the players can like skate under it. But like the wrestlers can't go to the outside though. Otherwise they end up on the ice. I mean, I guess technically they could.
Right. The players should be on the show. The hockey players, they should do an arena battle royal, is what you're saying.
Well, the hockey game's going on and the ring is elevated. So the wrestlers are wrestling in the ring as the hockey game's going on underneath them. But if they fall to the outside of the ring, now they're in the middle of the hockey game. It's going to be very tough for some wrestlers.
Well, they have to suit up and put on the skates and play the hockey game now.
Maybe. Well, maybe they like wear a jersey of a team, and like if they fall, that's a penalty on that team. So like they're trying to, and maybe like some hockey players are trying to flip the puck up into the ring to knock out one of the opponents. Like you can do a lot of things with this scenario, honestly.
I really like this one. This was from earlier in our Ricky Starks chat. Someone had mentioned World's End, and they jokingly said, do Phoenix, Starks, and Miro in a loser leaves AEW match. That's effectively what they did at World's End last year with Miro and Andrade. Yeah. I think because Tony Khan loves tradition, they should have every year World's End has one loser leaves AEW match, and it's with 3 or 2 people who are like on their way out, and it's pretty well known, and that's it. And Ricky still loses the match because he's got to stay until May. Miro finally gets his loser leaves contract settled.
Actually, I like this scenario. Just every year, it's a loser leaves AEW.
The disgruntled match, the disgruntled wrestler match.
I'm actually for this.
The promos. It's the promos alone.
They're both trying to like lose. Ricky's like, no, not pen me, dude. He taps out.
Where's the Bat Dad? This is that South Park. This is that South Park episode all over again.
That's a great episode. The Losing Edge.
That's what it's called. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good episode.
I'm Bell.
I'm back.
Oh, that episode was the best and the worst. Penta, Miro, and Starks.
Can't find my glasses. Where's my glasses?
Oh God, there were some awful deals with that. Roosh gets into one of those matches and he just can't lose. It's the idea that Roosh is so disgruntled, but he won't take an L. Oh, that's fantastic. Anyway. All right. What's next? What should we talk about next? Do you want to talk about Raw for a few minutes? There's not a ton to talk about. I mean, the New Day segment is really what people are coming away from.
That's strong.
That was very, very good stuff. I know that's been discussed by a lot of people, but you and I kind of sat here. First of all, before we get to the New Day stuff, we were right, because as we frequently are on the show, we were right about a few things from Raw. 1, Survivor Series, 2 new matches announced. Like we said, Shinsuke Nakamura versus LA Knight for the US title. Said that would happen. And number 2, we were right. The Intercontinental Championship 3-way match between Sheamus, Braun Breaker, and Ludwig Kaiser was announced as well. That was expected. But we got all those. Plus, your boy, that's me, was right. Tozawa pinned Xavier Woods.
Yeah, I still don't fully love that, but like the follow-up was so strong that I can't.
That's what it was about.
Hate it.
Yeah, that's what it was about, because the idea was you're going to embarrass them in the worst way possible. And that's why I came to it. It was because they took the most embarrassing scenario and they turned it into the hottest angle of the night, the hottest moment. The camera follows both men back to the past Gorilla into just a hallway leading into Gorilla, and Kofi and Xavier just kind of let it out. They mentioned their failures. They mentioned that Woods has never been a good enough singles wrestler, so they've had to rein him back. And Brock Lesnar beat Kofi in 6 seconds, and that almost set off Kofi. This was a really powerful and really well executed segment. It was well shot too, which I appreciated. It was tight. It was tense.
Were the frames good?
Yeah, the frames were good because the camera followed them all the way back, so you couldn't tell if it was going to be a pre-tape. WWE doesn't have that problem. Even the cross stuff, you think they'd have that problem, but no, they show restraint. The dialogue was right. All of this in service for next week when they do the reunion / 10-year anniversary / potential red wedding of the New Day. This is really good stuff, man. And this has been ongoing, and it's been done in such a way where people who immediately thought this was, someone's going to turn heel and turn on the other, they haven't done it yet. They've shown tendencies on both sides where I'm almost of a belief that if Big E shows up, he makes good by turning them bad. And the New Day just becomes a heel act. And they're both assholes now. Or all 3 of them together. there's some really good tension there, and I really, really, really like what's going on with the New Day. Give me your thoughts on this whole thing.
Much like the Punk Roman Bloodline saga, you can tell multiple stories out of this, and you can go multiple directions out of this. Some might be better than others, but they've really left it open to go in any way that they want to go. They could go all heel. They could go Big E comes in there and is like, yeah, we have lost our edge. Like, I don't know what happened to us, but this is not who we used to be. And they could go back to that. They could have Big E be Peacemaker and just say, what do we do? Brothers fight, but what are we doing? Come on, guys. And Big E makes a big announcement that he's returning potentially, or that he's coming back and he's at least going to be in their corner and like the good vibes are back. You could have Kofi turn on both of them. You could have Xavier turn on both. I don't think you can turn Big E, especially if he's not going to wrestle. But you could have Xavier turn on both of them. You've really left this open to any scenario you want coming out of or going into next week, coming out of this week. And some might be better than others, but nothing would surprise me. Like, yeah, they can say this, and I trust these three guys enough to deliver it in such a way and to make it make sense in such a way that, like, yeah, I understand that position. A really powerful segment on Monday with the loss, and then bringing up all that history and talking about sort of the weaknesses of both men. So I could see it again. I could see it playing multiple ways, and I don't think any way is wrong.
You know what they should do is have Big E come back, and they should make reference to twins, and that should just reignite an entire moment. Everyone's yelling and screaming in the ring about twins. The Usos come out, and then they just get super kicked, and everyone turns heel.
That's very inside, but
it's very inside. Go watch the New Day podcast. I promise it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Big E should drop a line of there though. It's like, guys, what are we doing? We're brothers. We're twins, even though we weren't born on the same day. We're twins. And then they look at Big E like, what? That's not how it works. Because obviously the clip is Big E is baffled how they think this is how it works. So yeah, that'd actually be funny.
I just got a text from Sean asking if I have questions for an upcoming interview he's doing. Hey, usually if I get messaged about something, it's revolving around TNA talent. We'll leave it at that.
Fair.
Oh, so there you go. Yeah, man, the New Day stuff is going to be so good when they get there on Monday. Someone in the chat with that? What was it?
No, nothing in the chat. I looked at the StreamYard to see who it was.
Oh yeah, you know. Of course it is. So yeah, it would be very. It's gonna be heart-wrenching or heartwarming or both, depending on where they go with it. And I like that there's so much on the table for them to go from. They got 10 years. They've got 10 years of this group being together, and the history and the investment and the involvement of everyone is so good, and it's exciting. This honestly, this could be a main event segment, depending on where they want to go with it. I don't think it will be. I think it might be just a crossover. Not just, but I think it would be more of a crossover segment. But I mean, Raw's 2 hours. They can make it a big focal point. If it's the return of Big E as a wrestler, if he suddenly says I'm cleared and I'm coming back, then you can put that in the main event, and it could be a big hot angle finish to reintroduce Big E as a wrestler. But it all comes down to what the plan is with those three.
I think you can put this in the main event unless it's just a reunion, but Big E's not cleared. Then maybe that probably works better for crossover. If it's a turn, if it's Xavier turning, Kofi turning, like, and he's laying out his two brothers, that can easily be a main event. That's a big time segment for 10 years of history. Like, that deserves a main event segment. So I think it could be the main event depending on what the closing. If it's Big E announcing his return and like it's good vibes, New Day, you can make that be the main event. Like end the show on a strong high note of, hey, New Day, we're all back, and a positive closeout to this show. If it's the entire group kind of turning, I don't know if that's quite main event level. And if it's just Big E kind of mending fences, but still a little tension, that's probably not main event level either. But depending on what it is, you can make it be the main event. Again, if your closing shot is like Xavier Woods basically laying out Kofi and Big E, that's a strong closing shot. If your closing shot is Big E announcing his return, he's cleared, he's back, New Day celebrating, that's a good closing shot.
I replied to Sean and he said, ask Jeremy on the air. The interview is with Macklin, for the record.
That was a guess by the way. Like, that was a complete guess when Joel mentioned it, and then I confirmed it myself.
Yeah, so there we go. Now we got to think of some things. I don't even want to pop up on that.
Ask him how his Gabagool went over for Halloween.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh God, hold on.
That's a very me question to
ask. Yeah. Hold on. Ask about his Halloween Gabagool. There we go.
Y'all can feel how you want about New Day, and like, oh, it's not the same. It does nothing for me. We're not going to scoff at 10 years of history between this group. Not 10 years on and off either. Like 10 years as a tight-knit group, as arguably the greatest group in WWE history. When you talk about a 3-man unit, like, who else is there? You can, like, if you want to put Bloodline, okay, fine, because their run was their run and they had world titles with everything. I completely understand that. Shield didn't last very long, and even Shield, it's not like they had world title singles success like Kofi did. As a group, I'm saying. Obviously, once they split, they became what they became. But as a group, they didn't have world title singles success. They didn't have tag team title success like New Day did. Like, as a 3-man group, when you talk about accolades, I don't know if there's another group on that level. And you gotta, I'm like, if it wasn't for you, fine. If you thought it's running course, fine. We can't deny like the impact of what they accomplished in the bigger scheme of things. I'm talking about the influence they had on some pop culture stuff with Comic-Cons, the influence they've had on just kids with the throwing of pancakes, with the cereal, with the action figures. And the impact of what Kofi and everybody has talked about. Woods has talked about it. Big E has talked about it. The influence they've had on people of color being world champions. That stuff's a big deal. All of it. We're not going to diminish the impact of New Day over the 10 years just because maybe they haven't been as prominent over the past few years. This is the greatest 3-man group in WWE history.
They turned everything that they could into anything monetizable, or anything that could be monetized. They did it. Not only that, everything that you said is true. And yeah, listen, pancakes weren't for everyone. I get it.
Some people are waffle guys.
Some people like waffles, and that's okay. As long as you don't conflate the idea that just because I like pancakes, it doesn't mean I hate waffles. Okay. That's not what it means. The New Day have their place in wrestling history. If you don't think that they will be considered first ballot Hall of Famers as a group, I don't know what to tell you. Hell, Woods even made the comment, I was a Hall of Famer before I even came here. That's kind of a shitty thing to say. Pardon?
Kofi said that, not Woods.
Did I say Woods? Sorry, I meant Kofi. That's Kofi saying that. And he's right. Because he had the experience. He had the background. This is a group that has withstood so many obstacles, whether that's the expectation of breaking up, or whether that's injury, or that's the idea that they get split in the draft and therefore they're no more. No, everyone is of the belief that they stuck together and they said that they were going to be the best 3-man group out there, and they've pretty much done that. The impact has been there, and it's sizable. Someone had mentioned earlier in the chat that there's a generation that grew up on New Day. That's 10 years. That is not something to scoff at. This is a major event because of the longevity the group has had. They started a damn podcast that became so successful in its own way. They deserve to have potentially a main event slot out of this. That's why I say it. Again, depending on what the story tells, but this is a big deal. They had a cereal. Jeremy.
I know. And if it wasn't for you, it wasn't for you. That's fine.
Of course, that's wrestling. It's subjective entertainment. I wanted to add one last thing before you go, before you take over. The idea for these three together was to raise each other up, was to promote each other, was to not only be, a positive and big influence on the Black wrestling community and the Black community in general, but also, again, raising each other up to main event status, world title status, whatever it could be, making each other better by working together. And in a similar way, that's what the Bloodline does. That's the same thing with Roman. Roman's doing it solo, but he's doing it with his family. His whole thing has always been in service of raising up my family. New Day aren't blood family, but they are absolutely a family of, they are family in their own way. And I think that's something that's worth mentioning as we kind of talk about the influence of New Day in the wrestling world. Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned, and I was partially mentioning, like, the influence outside of wrestling. I talked about the comic cons that Xavier Woods does, the comic book world that they go into. We mentioned Serial. We mentioned the podcast. Up, Down, Down, man. Like, that was a big platform for other wrestlers as well. Like, they have a ton of influence, a ton. I know people might look at Kofi's run as world champion. It's like, oh, well, it ended and it sucked. And like, the run was what it was. The feuds weren't great. The ending was awful. No one's going to take away that moment. That's one of my favorite matches over the last 10 years. Big E's run, kind of the same thing. The cash-in moment was cool. It unfortunately ended the way it did. The actual feuds and stability of the run, it was what it was. But like, we're not going to diminish the impact of everything New Day accomplished as singles talent and as tag team talent on screen and off screen, because their off screen impact is just as big as what they were able to do on screen. You listen to anybody talk about being on Up, Down, Down, being on the New Day podcast, traveling with Big E, Kofi, Xavier. You don't find too many people who got bad things to say about these guys.
You really don't. And it's so fun because there are times where I've been turned off by New Day or just not interested in what they're doing. But every time they've brought us back somehow. And I think that's really cool. That's why, again, you get into your interest in these stories. And this is what's going to happen on Monday is definitely of high level interest to most wrestling fans who have followed their career. It's pretty cool. You felt like you were about to say something.
They also strive for more. I appreciate that. And I respect that. They pushed for stuff on screen to be able to do certain things, but they pushed for stuff off screen to be able to do certain things. Like Up, Down, Down, like the Twitch channels, like the podcast. I got no choice but to respect that of hey, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. They were not complacent. Maybe they only got as far as they got on screen. Maybe they only got as far as they got off screen because of certain limitations or just stuff didn't hit, but they were not complacent. And sometimes in all walks of life, people do get too complacent. And so I respect that they just weren't those people. They were going to do whatever they could to make an impact somewhere. They did that friggin', did you ever watch their little Netflix gimmick with Undertaker? It was choose your own adventure.
Oh, no.
That thing was hilarious.
I heard about it. I didn't watch it because I don't have Netflix yet. I'll get Netflix in January.
It was absurd. It wasn't it was whatever, but it was hilarious of what they did. It was fantastic.
The last thing I want to bring up is with New Day is they have been on record so many times saying that they never want to break up. And that's why I'm so led to believe that this ends with the group as a whole just turning heel, just being bad guys. And I'm fine with that. That's something that kind of, I don't know if it's needed so much right now because there are a lot of, there are not enough hot babyface tag teams on Raw. But New Day turning would just be, it'd be fresh because we haven't had a heel New Day in 6-7 years. They started off as a heel team and then people just really wanted to cheer them. And even when they got booed a little bit, they got turned that right around. I'm ready for the possibility of keeping New Day together as they like and just turning them all heel and finding a way to get that over. Even if it's just Woods and Kofi. Maybe he is on the outside, but he's like, I have no choice because these are my boys, but I'm not wrestling, so they're going to do what they do. Who knows? Again, there's so many ways that the story can go.
Who do they feud with if there's a heel New Day? Because right now the tag team champions allegedly are Judgment Day. They actually defended the titles on Monday. So
yeah, we thought that was going to be a Survivor Series match, and WWE was like, "Nope." Oh no,
I never thought it was going to be a Survivor Series match.
We said the Monday after Survivor.
Yeah, the Monday after. Yeah, they just did it the Monday before.
WWE was like, "We can't let them get everything right."
Yeah, it's tough to turn that group heel. The Big E portion of it, because he's coming, especially if he's going to wrestle again. It's tough to be a heel with him wrestling. Now, if he's going to be on the outside, and I like your idea of, hey, like, I'm not fully for this, but I'm not wrestling, so I guess I just kind of go with it type things. Like, I can get that. The Wyatts are a possibility, as they're all about family, but New Day didn't betray their family. They're still together. So are the Wyatts like gonna target them? I don't know. The Final Testament, the TikTokers, the Miz Testament,
the Testaments,
the Testamizes,
Final Testament.
Okay, Final Testament. They're a heel group. LWO is a possibility.
There are no hot tag teams. War Raiders.
They just
Alpha Academy.
Well, they're heels.
No,
Alpha Academy. Sorry.
I know they got to change the name of Alpha Academy because America made Alpha Academy. They got to do something about that. What do you call that one? The Otis Tozawa connection. Yeah, you're right.
Otauza.
Otauza.
Yeah, Otauza.
Tozawis. Tozotis. It's all awful. I don't know what you do. That's the thing, is you can turn them all heel, but then you don't have other hot babyface tag teams for them to really go after. Miztament that's an awful idea, by the way. Beta Academy is the way you go with them. Yeah, that's the big question, is if you turn them, who do they face? Or do they go to SmackDown and maybe they do some sort of trade, but I don't know for whom. Then they can go at least against Motor City Machine Guns, and that's a hot angle right there. The Usos, you go back to them, you're not going to really get much out of that. The Usos are baby faces and the New Day is heels. That's new. We haven't seen that in a long time. So I don't know what fits if you keep New Day on Raw, where you do a feud with them as heels. Did you freeze? Yeah, you froze. You froze in that way that I was like, I thought you had something to say. But you had nothing.
No, I froze.
Now you're back. I said I don't know where they could land as heels on Raw. Like we were kind of talking about.
I'm not sure either, because they don't really have any hot baby faces on Raw. And I feel like I'm just going to continue to freeze here. And so,
that's fine. You're okay right now. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. You're a little delayed.
Oh, first of all, how dare you? Delayed. Are you frozen now? Now he freezes. Oh, this is the way it should go. Now you're back.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Yeah, there's no real place for them as heels on Raw. But SmackDown is pretty full now. They've got to move them around if they're going to do it.
They're going to shift a bunch.
Yeah. Do shifting around.
Yeah, they're gonna shift a bunch of stuff around once January comes. I know usually the draft is after WrestleMania, but it feels like maybe they do the draft before the Rumble with Netflix and going into that, because Netflix is obviously, they're gonna put that show's already gonna have a bunch of SmackDown talent on it. At least the premiere show is. So it feels like they might do the draft pretty early in the year, potentially, to really get those. And it's like, it doesn't matter. The draft doesn't matter. They'll put these people on whatever shows they want to do, you know?
Yeah, of course. And the first Raw on Netflix is going to be 4 hours. Going to get you right into...
Sometimes I do this.
It's true. Yeah. You doing it right now?
No, but the last time where you thought I was frozen, I wasn't actually frozen.
BS. I don't believe that.
No, I 100%. I could move. You could see my eyes shift.
That's fair. I probably didn't notice that. Oh God. What about talking about the Wyatt Sicks and the final mysticals? That was a segment.
Final Mistament. Testament. Why do you keep changing the name?
Because mysticals is still funny. He has giant balls, Jeremy.
Allegedly.
I mean, he comes out to the ring and he does this like he's got big balls and he shakes them around like he's Randy.
Have you seen his balls? Can you confirm that they're giant?
I should probably get an interview with Maurice where I ask that question.
All right, so unless you can confirm it, then it's allegedly.
Should you tweet Miz and just say, Miz, can you show us your balls?
No, because he's gonna make that. Yeah, I mean, unless you're gonna put balls on the timeline.
Listen, that other app, the letter app, it's a lawless zone. You could do whatever you want. Nothing happens.
Miz should come to the ring like Randy Marsh, like really prove that he's got giant balls. You know,
bring a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
What did you think of the backstage with Nikki Cross and Scarlett talking about?
I don't know why they left Scarlett alone. That was dumb.
They told her, stay out here. We're gonna go hunting Six.
What do they think was gonna happen?
They thought that she'd be safe in their locker room all alone with the lights off and the candle burning in the background. Was she going to do a seance? Is that what's going on? The acting was definitely overblown. It was not very good.
They were stupid. They were dumb.
But at least we had some movement. And I'll give them that. It was a silly, stupid segment. When she starts flailing her arms on Cross when he comes back in as if she thought he was attacked. That part I was like, lady, your eyes are fine. You can see.
And Cross is like, who did this to you? Who do you think did this?
It's the only woman.
It would have been hilarious. It would have been hilarious if Cross was like, who did this to you? And Scarlett's like, Maxine Dupree. Maxine Dupree attacked me.
That would have been fantastic. I think the reason she was beating up on Cross is because he left her there and didn't protect her. So she was upset with him about that. Maybe that's the character motivation. It's not very good motivation, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a segment that happened. Again, part of me is surprised that they're not trying to put Wyatt Sicks on any PLEs. And they're not going to be... I don't know. I just listen. Someone had pointed out, like, "Oh, you could do this in a War Games match." I'm like, no. Do not make a 3 War Games show. But like, you could have done a traditional Survivor Series match with the Wyatts versus the Final Mysticals.
I do wish they'd have more like traditional Survivor Series matches, but they clearly don't care about that. They're just doing War Games to do War Games. So
yeah, now the War Games is the Survivor Series match in their eyes.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's fine. What else? Was there anything else from Raw? We're talking about the Women's Intercontinental Championship was announced. Sure.
They announced it pre-show, and then they did a video package for it. Like, could they just not do it on the show?
It's very strange. I don't know why they did it that way, but hey, people are now talking about it. So who are we?
Maybe they just wanted to get like some buzz beforehand. Yeah. I don't know. But
that's the only thing I could think of is they wanted the pre-arena buzz to get excited before Raw, and then also all the news sites would cover it, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they just thought, yeah, it was going to be just a little extra moment. And then that way it doesn't take away from the other things they had planned for Raw that were going to be bigger than that news. And arguably, like, there were bigger stories that came out of Raw, between the Gunther and Priest segment at the top of the show. That was a pretty good segment. Made Gunther look like a bitch once again.
Gunther, Priest is right about him. Gunther's like kind of sucks now.
Keep trying to tell y'all he's just a big old bitch. But anyway, it's funny. I don't listen. I expect Gunther to retain, but I think maybe Priest they'll do a little closer to 50-50 match. And then maybe Ludwig Kaiser helps them retain.
No, I figured they were always going to do 50-50. Like,
you could have Priest win, and then for the rest of the year, Priest and Balor, for the next month, at least has some sort of stakes to it. Because Balor
needs to go back to that.
They got to close that out because that one match they had was not it.
Do they have to close it out?
Feels like they should probably close that out.
Priest won pretty emphatically.
Yeah, there's only so much time you can do that.
Feels like, nah, I don't feel like you need to go back to Priest and Balor.
Maybe Gunther should be the reason the New Day breaks up. Don't make the same mistake I did. I got rid of my guys. I'm a big old bitch now. Stay together. And then at New Day, it's just like, maybe we should break up. This guy's talking truth. No, I'm saying the opposite. Stick around. Oh man, yeah. There's nothing else from Raw that was really big. They did mention that Roman and Punk are gonna have a face-to-face on SmackDown, so I'm looking forward to that scene. I assume that's part of a pre-tape because otherwise news would have been all over that. Like, we would have already known everything in that segment.
Yeah, they didn't. That wasn't for the live crowd, clearly, because
got to take that on a football field somewhere in Utah. That's 24 frames per second. And it's taped, so it's not live, so it looks good. And it's going to be this big... CM Punk comes in his G-Wagon. Roman's got like his Escalade with 5 other tails. Paul Heyman walked there for some reason. It's perfect. Tell that story.
What does CM Punk drive? Oh, he drove that truck, remember? Where he parked in... Is it?
Yeah. Oh, that time was a rental, but for real, he drives a G-Wagon.
Okay.
Which people goofed on him for so long about that because they were like, voice of the voiceless, huh? And it's like, yeah, voice of the millionaires. What do you want from this?
Do you think he has Anita Baker riding around in his G-Wagon? Listen to Anita Baker. It's all love.
You suck. Yeah, Punk should show up in a rusty 76 Pinto just to keep up appearances. Bring Lars Fredrickson with you, pal. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that segment on SmackDown. That's obviously going to be the hot moment from the show. That'll be good. NXT talk.
Why?
Because Eric Bischoff's coming.
Oh God.
Bischoff's going to be on 2 shows next week. He's going to be on NXT on Tuesday, and then he's going to bring his ass to New York, and he's going to do the show for MLW. It's so funny. And Sean Waltman's coming next week too. Sean Waltman at least makes sense because they're going to be in where are they for Deadline in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and that's where Sean lives. So like it makes sense that they'll bring Sean in for this. I assume he's going to do something at Deadline as a result. Part of me is like, what if they're going to bring in Kevin Nash because he's been, he showed up on WWE Vault stuff this week. Not that they're always connected. But a little part of me is like, maybe they'll bring in Nash for something. Is there an NWO anniversary coming up that we don't know about? Because that was July 96.
Yeah.
When they introduced with Hogan. Someone was saying NXT Nitro. There's part of me that's like, they would do that, but also I don't think they will because, first of all, AEW Collision exists. Second of all, the idea of doing the paint scheme, the color scheme, but also the idea that Nitro is worth... Nitro's seen as less than to WWE. They beat them. It's done. So like, there's no reason to do it.
Yeah, ECW has more equity than WCW, which is hilarious.
It's wild because they spent so many years burying WCW as a company. Bischoff just showing up was hilarious. There was no need for it. It's just like we realized this Ridge Holland Trick Williams feud is going nowhere, so let's dump water on it by having Eric Bischoff show up.
Like, was it? I mean, it was kind of going nowhere because I just don't see it with Ridge. Like, it is what it is, but it's not like he's gonna be a challenger past next weekend anyway. So, did you really need to throw this stuff in there? I guess it's gonna work for a certain portion of the audience. That portion is not me.
The nostalgia group are gonna love it.
People still like Eric Bischoff despite his takes.
Sure, good for them. Little Guido's gonna be at Hammerstein. Speaking of ECW talent, good for Guido. Give him all the money.
Yeah, they got Guido, they got Tajiri, they got Tanaka. They're bringing us some ECW people. Maybe Bully Ray will be there. He was at one of the other. He was at the GCW War Game show, so wouldn't shock me if he was at this show either.
It's gonna live forever. That was Damian Priest, but this will live forever too. Yeah, man, the Ridge trick stuff ain't doing it for me. But again, it's deadline. People care about the Iron Survivor Challenge. That's what people are there to watch. They're going to do a last man, last woman attempt next week, Fatal 4-Ways. And Eddie Thorpe is being treated like a big old bitch too.
Shawn Michaels fired up, man.
Yo, for what though? Eddie didn't do anything.
He touched Ava. He put his hands on her.
He did not touch her. What
are you talking about? There's video evidence. He grabbed her by the wrist.
He didn't grab nothing. She got walloped by someone else by a door.
Are you stupid or are you dumb?
He grabbed her by the wrist.
Yeah, and then she got hit by someone else hitting the door.
Yes, but he still touched her.
Doesn't count, pal. Not in my world. Still, I think that Shawn might, first of all, using the "are you stupid or are you dumb" is great. But also, like, Shawn got a little excessive on that one. Like, I get that he blocked all of us on social media, but Jesus Christ, he's bringing that passion to NXT too. Eddie Thorpe.
She was trying to leave. She was trying to go back into her office, and he grabbed her. And then the door hit her. It's Eddie Thorpe's fault.
It's the door's fault, not the band.
The door went into business for itself.
The door went into business for itself. Knocked her down. She took a bump, and now here we are. You deserve better. Julia versus Kalani was a banger, though. Will Chisholm says that in a super chat. We do know that. Good on both of them, man. Julia is who she is. We know that she's good, but Kalani Jordan continues to be very impressive. One of the better NIL talent that we've seen. I'm really excited to see her continue to develop and do what she's doing, because even the character is not sucking. Like, that's the thing. Either it's one or the other, and her character has been pretty cool. So good to see her doing what she's doing.
Yeah, and Kalani's been a big standout. She's obviously the first women's North American champion, and she defended that title well. And now hopefully she continues to be spotlighted moving forward, because there's a lot of talent coming in. There's talent coming back. We saw Gigi Dolan return last night, so hopefully there's still a spot for Kalani now on the show.
Speaking of over talent who are very big, where the fuck is Obafemi?
I'm okay with him being like off TV for the time being if they don't have like an actual plan for him. Like fine. Should they have a plan for someone like Obafemi? Yeah, probably. But it's okay if they don't have a plan and they're just going to keep him off TV instead of just like trying to force him on television. Because I'm not unconvinced that he's going to be out there after deadline and step into Trick Williams to set that up.
Man, I think he should have been in the Iron Survivor Challenge. He should have won the match. He should have gotten like 10 pins.
But usually the person who wins that match gets the shot at like New Year's Evil.
Yeah, they basically confirmed that on last night's show.
Yeah, so you're not going to do Oba and Trick on New Year's Evil. That's a PLE match. You're not doing that on TV. So I'm okay if he's just off TV until it's like, when's the right time to bring him in to set up this Trick feud instead of just putting him into nothing. Like, I'm okay with it.
Man, there's still an image in my head though of like Oba in that Iron Survivor Challenge and like one by one pinning all of them, sending them to the penalty box, and he just sits there waiting, hyping up the crowd. That would be fantastic. They're not going to do it. It is what it is. What's happening with Chase U? What are they coming back with new? Is there going to be the new class? It's going to be Screech and Screech and Chase U with a whole bunch of newbies. What are we doing here?
Sounds terrible.
Well, that's what the new class was for Saved by the Bell.
I know. I watched part of it, sadly.
The show is based on old references to television shows nobody's watching. I don't know what's going to go on with Chase U, but they're not done with Chase U yet. Just not with the original gang.
Now, college years was okay. They
brought everyone back.
Yeah, they at least had most of the original cast for that. Jesse wasn't there. Lisa wasn't there. I think Lisa made a cameo, but
yeah, she showed up one summer.
Yeah, all the guys and Kelly were at least there. Now the new class was absolutely not. That sucked.
Telling you, man, it should have been $1 goes to Thea Hale. She buys the university. Hail you.
Rolling it out. Hail you. Not rolling it out. Let's go.
The Chase Trade School is hilarious.
Chase Community College.
Oh God, the humans are their mascots. Oh man, where's Joel McHale? Do they have his Community airing on the CW yet?
No, I don't think so.
6 seasons in a movie, my ass.
Didn't they? They did 6 seasons in a movie, didn't they?
They did 6 seasons. I don't know if they did the movie.
I'm pretty sure they actually did a movie.
I think they were developing a Community movie.
Let's look this up.
Yes, we are doing Community the movie.
I feel like it was on like Amazon or some shit.
They did 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Then they had to do the movie film.
Yeah.
Hold on. In March 2024, McHale indicated that shooting was basically working around Donald Glover's schedule, and they begin production this year and will be shocked if it didn't. However, in May 2024, Glover noted to Deadline that he received backlash from fans over speculation regarding his schedule preventing the production, clarifying that, quote, maybe it was last year, maybe, but not this time. McHale would later clarify in an interview in July with GQ, Jesus Christ, they were popular for this time, that it was not in fact Glover's schedule that was delaying production, but his own, stating, quote, that was definitely not true. It was not Donald's schedule. We love Donald. You can fully blame my schedule. So he had a tentative shooting period for 2025. So basically, Joel McHale said, oh, it's Donald's fault. Donald's like, nope. And Joel's like, you're right, it's mine. What a dick.
Apparently the script is done. Allison Brie said the script was done. So apparently they just got to get the schedules all aligned here. So
it's just 2 hours of paintball. It's just paintball episode.
I mean, Chevy Chase isn't going to be part of it. I don't know if he was a part of like the 6th season anyway.
I think they killed him off, didn't they?
I never watched the 6th season. I watched the first 5.
Oh, I did.
Oh, I couldn't remember what happened in any of the episodes because I only watched it like once. So my memory retention is terrible if I've only seen something once. But I definitely didn't watch the 6th season, or I did, and again, no recollection.
I'm pretty sure that they got rid of him.
Okay, fair.
Like a lot of people were gone too.
He's like racist and stuff, so fair.
Yeah, like Yvette Nicole Brown left for the 7th season because her dad was sick.
She's at least got to be back. Like,
I think she would be. But yeah, I remember watching it. There's even a grifting 101 episode, so you know it's good.
How do they like? They're all old now. They can't graduate by this point. What's going on?
Listen, Donna Martin graduated, so clearly we'll be okay.
Like, can they not? Like, what's happening here?
The cast contract. The day the cast contracts were due to expire, Yahoo announced that it ordered a 13-episode 6th season to stream on Yahoo's screen.
This show started in 2009.
Yeah, my friend was like, "You got to watch this," and I had to wait until.
It's a good show.
It is a good show.
But 2009, they've been in college for 25 years.
Good
15,
for them.
Sorry, my math. I need to go back to college because my math is so terrible. They've been in college for 15 years.
Wild.
Absurd.
I'm just looking to see if I can find any more. She dropped out. Oh, she showed up. Yvette Nicole Brown showed up for a couple of episodes.
No.
Anyway, point is, The show was great. They'll have a movie eventually.
Maybe apparently the last season they were working in Greendale to save it, not students.
Right.
Okay.
That is true.
Again, I didn't watch that
season. It was years ago. I don't even remember what I did yesterday.
The 6th season was almost a decade ago. It aired in March 2015.
Yeah. I think I've got it on my computer somewhere on a hard drive.
I'm sure it's on like Peacock or something, but like
it's on Yahoo Screen if that still exists.
They're gonna do what the fuck is Yahoo Screen? They're gonna do the Parks and Rec where they like flash forward into the future type of thing.
Oh, decommissioned in June of 2019. Community season 6.
I'm sure it's on Peacock.
Is it? I don't know about that. Where can I watch it?
It was on NBC, so it's probably on Peacock. It was on Netflix for a while. I know it was on
YouTube. It's on Apple TV.
That doesn't help.
Where to watch? God, the internet's. Oh, it's on Peacock. Okay, you're right.
Yeah, I told you.
All right, sure.
Just listen to me, Joel. Sometimes I'm right.
Sometimes it's on Prime Video too, I guess. They're on Hulu too, apparently. Hey,
sure.
Whatever. That's fine. Can borrow my DVD. Thank you. I'm glad that I could borrow your DVD. Anyway, anything else from? We got to do Dynamite. Dynamite Thanksgiving is tonight. Thanksgiving Eve.
Well, yeah, Thanksgiving's tomorrow.
Allegedly, for you guys, it is. Can we also? Oh, we gotta. Oh, hold on. We gotta talk about one thing very important.
Oh God.
Big Boom AJ.
The greatest worker of all time.
The greatest professional-based wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
The man worked his match with a broken freaking foot. Brought the boom. Did everything he was supposed to. And at the end, it didn't matter. Boom! Thank you. Because he worked. It hurt. Greatest wrestler of all time. First ballot Hall of Famer, like Zeno Hour says in the chat. Big Boom AJ.
Dude, he doesn't win Wrestler of the Year?
Agreed.
What are we doing?
Didn't even break his foot during the match. No. This man broke his foot before the match.
Well, he said it was during. He said it was early flying clothesline.
He's lying.
Oh, okay.
He's lying. It's before the match. I'm going with before. I don't care what Big Boom AJ says. Before makes him look like a much bigger badass than I heard it during the match.
I don't know. During and continuing is still pretty badass, though.
No, hearing it before and being like, I'm so badass, I went out and did this match fully hurt the whole time. Nah, that's it. That's it.
You know what makes AJ such a great worker? Is like maybe he is lying about this. Good. That's good worker shit too. The fact that he would lie about this injury and be like, yeah, no, I actually heard it beforehand. Or I actually heard it during the match when it was really beforehand. It was like, no, it actually hurt this. Either way, the story is great. Either he heard it during the match and just continued and went forward and had a great match, or he heard it before the match and decided to, I still need to go forward and do this match because a lot of people are counting on me. Either story is great. The fact that he would lie about this is great worker shit too. This dude is the best. The absolute best. He's going to do more with AEW too. He's going to do more. He said he's going to be back. He said he's going to keep working with them. They should put the world title on him. You want to increase ratings? Strap up Big Boom.
Send him to Australia. Let him be the.
I don't know how popular they are in Australia. You think they're pretty popular in Australia?
It's the internet. They're popular everywhere, except for maybe North Korea. They don't really have the internet there, or at least it's highly, monitored. Did you hear that story, by the way? The North Koreans that were sent to Russia, they all became addicted to porn because they'd never experienced it before in their life.
Good for them.
Live your life.
Good for them.
One quarter crank at a time. All right, we're good. Oh, we got a few minutes left. You want to talk about Dynamite tonight? Busy Dynamite.
Is it? There's matches.
Yeah. There were matches. Is the women's thing? Does that start tonight?
Yeah.
That does start tonight. Okay, it's not on the preview, so I'm getting that because of course he put the tweet out at like 10:30 on a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's my bad. I gotta update that.
That's fine. It's 10:30 on a Tuesday. It's not your fault. Anyway, let's start with that first. Wrestle Dynasty Invitational or International Women's Cup qualifier. They're going to have a mini tournament to see who goes on to represent AEW for Wrestle Dynasty.
Yeah, AEW is cowardly.
Why is that? Everyone else is doing 4-ways, but AEW is doing a tournament?
Yeah.
Fair. I have other questions.
They're doing a 4-person tournament instead of a 4-way. Everybody else is doing a 4-way.
Well, this way he doesn't have to book any other matches. Sorry.
Well, I mean, technically, like, it's actually better because, 2 people are getting over a little bit stronger. I mean, look, if you don't think Jamie Hayter and Willow are going to win these matches, I don't know what to tell you. But maybe, I was going to say, is there a world in where Serena wins? And it's like, no. Is there a world where Queen Aminata wins? No.
No. The Queen Aminata, I would have put her in the Ring of Honor bracket, but that's just me.
Yeah, fair.
And maybe even had her win the Ring of Honor bracket because I don't know who's in the Ring of Honor one. Have they announced? They did announce, or at least it's
Layla,
yeah.
Billy, Red Velvet, Athena.
And Athena? Interesting. So I think, did they take that already or are they about to?
No, it's a 4-way. So like Athena doesn't have to take a loss. Red Velvet can pin Layla.
My point is Athena doesn't win. Billy and Athena cancel each other out because of the final battle match that they're inevitably going to have. So I feel like that's going to motivate the final battle match between Athena and Billy is this 4-way. Yeah. That's why I'm asking if it's been taped yet because that match is coming up.
Well, it just got announced at Full Gear and they haven't had any taping since Full Gear. So
okay. So it could be as early as this week taping. On the other hand, going back to the AEW women, Serena Deeb and Britt Baker had their little Britt Baker doesn't care about anybody.
Who cares?
Nobody
cares?
Why is Serena Deeb in this and not
nobody cares?
Nobody cares. You're right. Sorry, Willow Nightingale's gonna get the win.
Nobody cares.
Marina Shafir could take out Willow Nightingale because Marina was taken out by Willow at Full Gear, and then Serena gets the win, and then I don't know. That's why it's a little weird that Serena's in this, Britt's not in this. Good to see Willow back, but people are clamoring for Willow. Jamie Hayter going all the way is something I would do, but Jamie Hayter also has the thing with Julia Hart, so maybe Julia Hart gets involved and stops her from winning. Queen Aminata is the only one who doesn't have anyone going after her on this bracket. So it's almost like she just has a clear win to get to the final.
I wouldn't do 2 interference finishes for this. I wouldn't do Julia cost Hayter and Marina cost Willow. Don't do that. Like
I wouldn't either, but something's got to get motivated in all of these feuds where all of these women suddenly have someone against them, except for Queen Aminata.
So I would just have Hayter win and I'd have Willow win. And then Winter is Coming would make sense for old spooky Julia Hart to make her actual return at Winter is Coming. And then Willow wins that match because of the Julia Hart interference. That's my theory. That's my prediction.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll see how it plays out. Tonight they're going to be doing Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata. That's tonight. And on Collision on Saturday, it's Serena and Willow. And then the winners of that go on to
next Saturday, by the way. Next Saturday.
Oh yeah, December 7th. You're right, at GalaxyCon. Yeah. And then the following week, they're taping Dynamite Winter. Sorry, they're taping Collision Winter is Coming on Thursday, December 12th. That's the final of those brackets. And then the winner goes on to face to join the International Women's Cup at Wrestle Dynasty on January 5th. It's a little convoluted, but it makes sense once you understand it. The first match is tonight. Next week is another match. The final is the following Saturday. And then they go to Wrestle Dynasty. There you go. So it's, again, the 4 women make sense. They're in their own little things right now, except for Queen Aminata. So like there is story advancement for all women involved. I'm just curious as to who actually makes it to the end. And to me, could easily be Queen Aminata just because she has a clear path. I don't know. We'll find out as we talk through it and as we see the results.
I don't, no offense to Queen Aminata. I don't think they're sending her to Japan as the AEW representative for Wrestle Dynasty. It just, they haven't put that stock into her, and they typically, I don't want to say they don't take risks like this, but they typically don't elevate people off of something like this. Their booking is relatively straightforward. This just seems like it's set for Willow to me, which is completely fine. Love Willow. She deserves everything. That's just where it seems like. I think Willow's going to beat Serena next week, and then Britt's going to come out and like just say, look, you lost, loser. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. That's a weird story to go for. There's also a part of me that like just thinks they don't take this the wrong way, that they don't care, that they just don't have the same level of interest in sending, like they're not sending Mariah May, and we don't know where that story goes. I've laid out my interest where I'd like to see it go, but I don't know how invested they are in the women going to this show for Wrestling Dynasty. We don't know like who they care to send. So
I think they want to send Willow. I think Willow's going to be over, brother.
She is over, and she's had experience working, in front of New Japan cameras, and she worked New Japan Strong stuff. But again, I would be fine with it. They just brought her back into a role with Death Riders, like going after people in Death Riders. So who knows? It'll be curious for the next couple of weeks, seeing how they play out that whole thing. But the Continental Classic, that starts tonight. Chicago, Wintrust Arena, Dynamite. It's a big show. You got Ricochet versus Claudio Castagnoli. Did you know Darby Allin just wants to be in the Continental Classic to beat up Claudio?
Fair.
I would do it too. Who's going to win, Ricochet and Claudio? Claudio going to go all the way in this thing?
No, I don't feel like Claudio is going to get too many wins, honestly. Like, it feels like Ricochet is going to win.
What if Ricochet is just a big old loser throughout this entire tournament? And then
I don't think that's going to... No, I don't think it's going to happen. No.
I don't know. Frustrated Ricochet finally turns heel because he keeps losing in the Gold League?
No, I just feel like Ricochet is just going to win.
Fair. Ryan Lambert saying he's going to be there tonight. Have the best night. Hope you enjoy it. And if you don't, you can bury it on the internet and nobody will care. I promise. No one will call you a shill.
Do a CEO dance, Ryan. Just like
do a CEO dance.
Yeah, just even if she's not on the show, just do the CEO dance.
Yep. When Serena Deeb comes, oh no, she's not on that show. Well, she could be on a show. Just do it. Anyway, Blue League, Mark Briscoe and Shelton Benjamin. This is gonna be a fun match. Shelton's got a whole bunch of first time matches on this Continental Classic. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it feels like Mark's in this tournament takes some losses.
Poor Mark Briscoe, former Ring of Honor World Champion. He gets treated to this.
Allegedly.
Conglomeration. Took me a minute to get there, but I got there. Shelty B should get a bunch of wins in the Blue League, I should say. I'm surprised that they didn't relegate the Blue League and Gold League to separate shows again. They did that last year with the Continental Classic, where Collision hosted the Blue and Dynamite hosted the Gold Leagues. But instead, it looks like everyone's going to be working both shows, which I don't hate it. At least this gave you an idea of who you were definitely going to see at one of the other show.
Well, in this case, they're taping Rampage and Collision tonight. So You're getting all the matches anyway. I do think when the tapings are separate, they will flip it and the gold will mostly be on Dynamite and the blue will mostly be on Collision. But I think, just in this case, they decided, let's highlight some Blue League stuff so people can know what to expect, and vice versa. No, I'm fine with it. It's okay.
All right, it's fine with me. What else is going on? Darby Allin, Brody King, and Gold League action. That's gonna be a fun match. Those two are just gonna beat the shit out of each other. By which I mean Brody King is just gonna beat the shit out of Darby Allin.
Yeah, they always have good matches. I suspect Darby will win.
Is this their fifth or their fourth match? I know the Wrestle Dream match may have been the third.
I feel like this is their fourth. Like in AEW. I feel like
yeah. Either way, this is the chemistry's there. They have a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. And in our main event,
maybe
it's a title match. I assume it's the main event. Ring of Honor World Championship. Chris Jericho defends against Tomohiro Ishii. I assume that this all ends with Chris Jericho winning and then announcing a television deal that AEW presents Ring of Honor on True TV.
I don't feel like this is going to be the main event, honestly. I don't think it is. Probably I think they're going to close with a Continental Classic match. I don't think they're going to main event with this.
Now, here's a curious thing I was thinking about. Darby Allin is now part of that too. Darby Allin's now part of the Continental Classic.
Yeah.
Darby Allin then hypothetically couldn't be a part of the main event or of a world title match if he goes all the way to World's End.
I don't think he's going to be.
There were a lot of people who were batting the drum that he was going to go all the way to, he's going to have the world title match at World's End. You think that's changed and that it's,
I don't think World's End was ever Darby Allin.
Okay.
I think it was always going to be sometime next year. The problem, like the weird thing about that is like, we know he wants to do Everest in April. So
we can't
wait to put the title
in March.
Yeah. Like if you're going to put the title on him, like then he's just going to be off of television. So now it really takes him out if he's going to be in the Continental Classic till World's End. Yeah, he's probably not going to go after the title. But now you're almost cutting his title reign short if he does win it, because you know that in April he's about to go to Everest. We might be getting ahead of ourselves with Darby Allin actually winning this title. That's what it seems like it should be. That's where it seems like it's going. But we're not factoring in Darby going to Everest in April, and that you're basically cutting whatever title reign he may or may not have short because of that.
It is interesting that we all sat here and planned ahead for that, but maybe he does lose the match. How long can you let Moxley run amok and make it like important?
You can. There's the debate of how important it is right now, but
it's also very true.
You can make it as important as you want it to be. But right now, like, you know, it is what it is.
Darby winning the title at Revolution, let's say, and then taking the title to the top of Mount Everest. Is that worth not having the title on TV for upwards of a month?
No. Can you film footage of Darby like climbing Everest and he's sending in footage every week? How does this work?
I mean, they would do that. Yes, that is something they would do.
Chris Jericho loses the thing in a Texas Longhorn. Darby loses it on top of Everest. Darby just like leaves it up there. He's like, yeah, you want this title? You come climb this fucking mountain.
The thing is, he would do that and they'd use it as a reason for like either him to go back up the damn mountain or it'll be an excuse for them to make a new world title. I don't know which one they want to do. First match on Mount Everest.
You know what? This is honestly great ideas. They're never going to do it, but I'm all for it now. Screw it.
You know what? It should be fine. They should just let it happen. The idea though, that like you could also win at Revolution and then Christian Cage does the thing and Christian Cage wins the title and then he beats down Darby so hard that he's out to go work Everest, brother. There's just an idea there. I don't know. Again, if that's the play, I think I'm thinking of Revolution because that's going to be a big a big event that's going to be in LA. That's going to be at Staples Center. Like there's some reason to do it. But then you got the stuff with Everest in the way.
Yeah. Well, maybe he just takes the title up to Everest.
He brings the title up to Everest, says he's the king of the mountain. Jeff Jarrett meets him at the top and says, "No, I am slap nuts." And then he beats him with the guitar, wins the title. Jeff Jarrett, new AEW world champion.
Jeff Jarrett's just already up there, like chilling.
He lives up there. He's the top of the mountain, Jeremy. He lives up there.
He's the king of the mountain. But yeah,
it's even better.
Like, where you been? It's like, where you been?
And then Hook shows up with his chips. Where's Hook?
Oh.
Where is Hook, by the way? Now we're getting down a rabbit hole.
It's a good question of where Hook is.
Where is Hook? Is there a Doritos shortage? Is that what's going on? Is that why we're not seeing him? I have so many questions. That and more for Friday's show. I don't even know what day it is anymore.
Fair.
Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
I don't think so. Everyone enjoy Dynamite tonight. Enjoy wrestling if you're going to watch that or whatever you're going to watch. Just your evening. Enjoy football tomorrow if you're going to watch that. Whatever you're doing, have a happy, safe Thanksgiving, everybody.
happy, safe Thanksgiving. If you are a TNA watcher of the post show, you're in luck. There is no TNA post show tomorrow because they're running Vault episode where they pull old matches that they taped and never aired. And I don't need to review those because they have no storyline, anything.
How do you know?
How do I know? Because at best, they're going to announce the Knockouts tag team title match for Turning Point.
They're doing a show on Friday, right? They got the little gimmick. Yeah,
they're doing Turning Point. I don't know if we're going to do it. Now that they're not doing the Thursday show, I almost feel like we have to do the Friday show. They're also starting at 7 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. So like there's a possibility that the show actually ends at a reasonable hour. But if it ends at 10 p.m., guess what also ends at 10 p.m. and is going to have a much bigger footprint on our watch schedule? That is the SmackDown post show, which Roman and Punk will be on. So it's like, why would we do a post show for that? Especially because there's only going to be one new champion at Turning Point, and it's probably going to be the Knockouts tag titles, assuming they put those on the line for the show. Otherwise, Turning Point is just a show. It's the, hey, we're at WrestleCade, look at us show. So who knows if we do one. Anyway, Sean's going to interview Steve Macklin, so get ready for that. That'll be fun. For Jeremy Lambert, I am at Troll Pearl, JOELPARL. Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, we'll see you Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. If you haven't already, leave a thumbs up on the way out and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.